Well, hello there and welcome back. This video is going to show you the heavy fighting against the Prussian main army, happening around the 10th of October 1806. That's turn 2. Who will prevail? You'll know soon. We'll also talk a bit more about our master plan to beat the enemy and then some new information about the interface and how to use it. Now, if you see here, the enemy engages us at Aue. This battle gauge, you see, doesn't give us that much information, but rest assured, should you like to crunch numbers, the post-battle reports can give much more than enough, and there's a simplified report and a very detailed one. Please note that also for the French, they're fighting initially with 14,000 men only against the full Prussian army, but we'll discuss this later. See how the number of the French troops just jumped to 38k now? This is because the battle is split into hours, and each hour new troops can be committed or sometimes withdrawn. It depends on a lot of different factors, but a good leader and fresh troops are a sure recipe to success. Now here's that Sull's corps arriving on the battlefield. You may wonder why Sull was shown from the very beginning, or even at the start. If I told you that the 14,000 was not necessarily theirs, they belong to Ney in all probability. This is because Sull has seniority over Ney. So if a battle happens in a region, he's always going to be in charge, no matter what happens. Sadly, Ney always has to be sort of second in command to Sull, no matter what the battle is. Alright, let's see how this goes. So actually, if we take a look here, not bad. The victory is a resounding success for the French. Now, even if the losses were atrocious on both sides, Hohenlohe has lost almost all of his army except a few thousand men. They're not all killed though, and in the campaign, 1/3 of the losses come back as they were only wounded. But here they are, and they're gone for good. If we take a look at the north, Davout makes short work of Rochelle, which is retreating as soon as possible, it seems. It seems only the French artillery engage the fight, as there is no real loss to the actual infantry. Now, another short little battle over here in Aue. Now this time Augereau is in command, as he is even more senior than Davout. Despite only 18,000 French showing during the battle, we see from the report that we actually had 68,000 overall, and only a few were actually committed. Now that the turn has ended, despite significant losses, we might be able to push toward Dresden and Leipzig. But we must be prudent, and we don't know if the other Prussian armies are on their way. So let's take a look at our objectives again. Now here you can click above the mini-map of the globe button to bring various filters. The button showing objectives is the third button, so the shortcut to that key is 3, and our goal with the Southern Army is to take the two Saxon cities of Dresden and Leipzig, and then wheel around a bit, take Kustrin, and finally Berlin. Now, if we take a look here in the north, we only have Davout, and even if his corps is really strong, he's now sitting in the Hanover region, and having pushed the few Prussians out of there. Our plan with him is to go east towards Braunschweig and then Magdeburg. The problem, though, is that we will have to lay siege to fortresses along the way. So that's it. Of the Prussian, mostly that remains is Kalkreuth's forces in Leipzig. We also have our own small force backed by an even smaller force led by Lecoq in yellow. But it shouldn't be that big of a problem. So actually, if we look here, right in front of our main force, we only see Hohenlohe. So this is actually good. This is not necessarily bad. Ooh, that's rough. It looks like Ney is still quite weak from the first beating. His troops were engaged in battle this turn and suffered even more. So they're probably not going to get their cohesion back for several weeks. We will get better. We'd be better off, actually, to let them rest in a city, so they're sheltered for winter, and perhaps there they can get some replacements. And Bernadotte's first corps isn't in great shape either, if we had to be honest. If we see here, Sull remains our main force. I mean, he's got a lot of power, and that's because cohesion is now only average, if you check the blue bars on each unit. And the good news is that we captured a smaller supply and artillery station from the enemy. Still, all of our frontline troops are now much weaker than they were initially. We look over here, Murat is still camping in the woods of Jena, and I guess this is the name of a famous historical battle. We might need to actually let the cavalry rest in a safe place, and also supply's not that high, as you can see from the red gauge on the supply wagon. Now, if we take a look over here at Lannes, it does look like Lannes is actually still in pretty good shape, but the thing is, I want to be really prudent right now, and I don't want to waste his core, so let's be careful with that. Now, as we said before, Davout is strong, but he's going to have to besiege or attack fortresses. Covering a fortress means preventing a fight, but not much more. That, or we lay siege with all the men for weeks, which is not a good idea. Now let's actually talk a bit about the interface, guys. As you see, there is a message panel. The purpose of this message panel is to present you all that happened during the turn, but in an organized manner. And there's 6 categories, the first one being the historical and scripted events. They're generally shown in red. It means clicking on them brings a window which details each event. Obviously, some events have more flavor than others do, and others have little or no impact on the current scenario. Nonetheless, having this amount of events is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and return to the played area. In Saxony and Prussia, with a click on the mini-map. The second category is about battles. You can get more details from there. You can bring the simplified or detailed report on each battle at your leisure. Looks like winter's coming, and the third category is all about movements and attrition events, and winter's coming, remember, so we're going to be suffering some losses just from bad weather alone. If you look at the fourth category here, let's take a look at that. Fourth category is about the reinforcements that you can get during the campaign. If we take a look at the actual fifth category, the fifth category is about changes for control of vital regions and cities. We captured the Alway supply depot and got some Prussian food from it, although not that much. We'll talk about supply in another video, but as you can guess, it's a very, very important part of the game. We will take a look here always in Saxony because the Saxons are allied with Prussia. We can check that by activating filter 1, and when we are done, we can disable the filter and then hide all of the buttons if we so choose. Now finally, the last category for everything that doesn't fit the first 5, we see we captured 4 units. Also, many of our generals are congratulated because they did well. Each general has a seniority rating. It's higher ranking than, well, it's as high ranking in the hierarchy. If you have a seniority of 1, for instance, you're the first, so the general with the most importance goes first, and so on. St. Hilaire can be promoted to a new rank. He already has awesome stats of 555 and would now be a 2-star general. That's not always a good thing to do, as you can lose stats when you climb the hierarchy, but let's promote him, right? In fact, we have a good number of 1-star generals that can be promoted, so we'll decide if that's actually necessary a little bit later in the game. Now actually, let's scroll down the message panel here really quickly, my friends. And if you scroll further in the message panel, you're going to actually see that they're all there for you to check. Now at this point, I'm pretty sure you might have noticed some buttons to the right. Now, they point to the messages in red of the message panel, so we're sure you're not missing any of them. Alright, we're receiving another message here, and after this message, this last message, we're actually over England. The regions are in brown because they're not playable in this scenario. Let's go back to Saxony and actually get back to the war, although it was quite interesting to stop over here in England for a little while. Now we can also bring the battles that happen from the last turn using these buttons. So, in the next video, we're going to plan our third move, and then we'll talk about the more complicated aspects of supply, which, as I said earlier in this particular video, are very, very important to this game. So you're going to want to check that out. Stay tuned, guys, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.